Welcome, everybody. It is me. It is the Cyber Warrior. This is Cyber Warrior Studios, and I know you are all here for another amazing episode of what? Security Happy Hour. That's about right. So I got an amazing stream planned for you today, and it all came from an idea from a former guest who is now going to be a guest again tonight. And I got to be honest, it's going to be a big show. So share this stream, like, comment, subscribe, all those things. We got a big show planned. It's going to be an amazing episode. So I hope you're all ready. Strap in, grab a drink, and enjoy the show. And we'll be back in about 10 seconds. And we're back. And as you see, I've got quite a few people here today. And we have, and let's start. So where I'm at in this top left corner here. All right. So if we're looking at the screen, it's to the right. We've got Santina White, Gabby, Larci Robertson, and Ryan René Rosado. And it's going to be an amazing episode. Ryan is the one that gave me the idea for the show, mainly because she pointed something out to me that even I didn't know. And I try to keep up on all things that are veteran related, and I missed this one. So apologies, Ryan. Thank you for pointing it out. But coming up on June 12th is Women's Veterans Day, in honor of the 70th anniversary of women being allowed in the military. And so let's start it off with Santina, who has never been on this show. And introduce yourself a little bit, Santina.
Well, thank you again for your excitement about us women being in the Air Force or in the military. My name is Santina. I am an Air Force veteran of 4 years. I worked 6 years as a civilian, and I just love the military. Grew up as a military brat. My father was in communications, so that's our introduction. That was our, when I say our, his children's introduction to IT. So again, it's awesome. I'm so excited. This is like my first broadcast. It's so crazy. I don't know if Ryan is the one who picked me or what, but
actually, your name, Santina, came from Larci down
below.
And I said Larci, but I did say Larci.
Yeah, yes. I was going to say Larci too, but Ryan, I know her from San Antonio, so I don't know if she remembers me.
Lackland.
Yeah, yes. It was when we were doing that. I think it was the AFP. What is that? The AFP AC, or when they had those
AFP PCS would have been something with education. I did things with like on base. I don't know. There's a few places, but I did think you were familiar. So this is really awesome.
Right.
This is what happens when you bring, like, in my experience, one woman together. They help each other.
Yeah, there's a circle of us. So thank you, Larci. She's awesome. I'm glad to have met her in Dallas. So I was in San Antonio. Now I'm in Dallas. So I'm happy to be here.
So what got you into cybersecurity, Santina?
Well, I think it started with IT, and then my mentor at the time, she was Army, but she told me about all the opportunities in cybersecurity, and then I started exploring it. I was taking some classes like the cyberspace, um, courses that they had with the Air Force, and I was like, maybe cybersecurity is where I want to be. And so again, I always wanted to do IT. I'm always been good at math, so I just start drawing myself towards the cybersecurity field. And I plan
Yeah.
on staying, that's where I want to grow, and that's where I'm worrying for more women to be in cybersecurity. And I'm the president of Women in Cybersecurity Dallas Fort Worth.
Well, you're here now. You're on my show, so you're not leaving. See, and Ryan has learned this. Once you're in the family, you're in for life. You're one of my warriors now. So that's just how it's going to be. And I'm
Yes,
never going to let you quit, because around here, we don't quit. We don't give up, and we just keep moving on.
absolutely.
It's not quitting if you find another passion, but we're glad you're here.
I wouldn't call it quitting, but if I become like a CIO or a CISO, then yeah.
Then hire me.
There's
All
a
right, give
conversation-
me the big books, big bucks, and hire me. That's how it's going to work.
There's a
Exactly.
conversation somewhere for another time. Will cybersecurity not necessarily break up like an end, but break up like 10 years from now, we might not be saying cybersecurity. There's actually a little bit more fun fact. I think it was the Air Force came out in the 70s. At the time, it was called computer security, right? It might get a new rename. We might rebrand it. I'm sure. I can't believe or wonder what generative AI will do to it, but
Exactly.
whatever it is, we're in it. So,
Yeah, and it's one of those things. It's going to get crazy. Things are going to change. Everything is iterative in IT and cybersecurity. Everything always changes. So we always got to be ready and adapt. And I think that's where veterans hold a stronghold. Women veterans, especially, who have adapted to many of the changes that have come about throughout the careers. In that, the glass ceiling's just always changing and always bettering themselves to be the best that they can be. And prove that, guess what, you're not going to stop us.
Right.
And we're just going to shut you up and tell you to sit down, and we're going to take hold. That adaptability is something that I think veterans definitely hold near and dear, and it doesn't matter how things change, we're here to stay. Gabby, moving on.
Really quick on that note, I think women veterans officially make up 12% of veterans. So
yeah,
the fact that we're here to stay and we're growing, yes, that deserves, I thought, another shout out. Sorry.
Yeah, it's always going to be growing. At this point in time in our history, it's not dwindling. It's only going to grow, and one day we'll see that everybody belongs, no matter who you are, and I think we'll get there. It's going to take time. We're still going to have old heads that hold on to their, they clutch their pearls and are like, oh my God, we can't allow this. But at the end of the day, everybody belongs, and we all know this. Gabby, you're next on the chopping block. Introduce yourself. Tell us what got you into cyber.
Okay, so hello, and thank you for the invite to join this. And Larci, thank you. My name is Gabrielle Bazan. I am a U.S. Army veteran. The way that I got into cyber was actually unconventional. I like art. I am an artist. I like painting and art and like work like that. And when I was younger, I have a twin sister, and me and her entered our artwork into the state fair, and we actually tied for second. It was really cool. So I had done that, and I was like, oh my goodness, like you get to high school, all this stuff to learn. And I was like, digital art, it's the thing, like making like all the pictures and stuff and movie magic. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do. Right. And so like, and where I was, because me and my sister had gotten scholarships to go play softball. We were actually pretty good. And, I just kind of lost the love of the game.
Hold up, you were a softball player?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I come from a family of jocks and sports people. My two oldest sisters play softball. My oldest played softball in college. So I love softball. And to this day, if I could find an adult league that I could play in, I would, even though I'm broken, and would probably fall running to the first base. But I would do it in a heartbeat still to this day.
Yeah, I try to go watch. I try not to participate too much because I'm like, oh, I'm so sore. Everything hurts. I gotta get up tomorrow morning.
Right? It's like hold on. You know what? Let me get 10 beers and then I'll go do it.
Anybody got a shot? Tequila? Yeah, that's me.
You sound like my wife now.
I'm exhausted mentally. But so I got into the digital art and I really liked it. And in high school, I did a whole bunch of classes like that. And then I actually did a presentation presentation to my parents. So at that time, like my parents weren't like huge on the military. They were just like okay with it. They didn't really want me to go. So I made a little presentation. I said, this is my goal. This is my plan. I'm going to work at, I was like, I'm going to work at Fort Knox because that's like the main head station or whatever for like, for the military. So I was like, I'm going to work there and this is my game plan and this is what I'm going to do. And my dad was low-key impressed and he was like, all right, if this is what you do and you got a good head on your shoulders, go ahead and do it. And then I was just like, I just picked something and with computers. And then that's when I started learning about, IT, a real deal, like cybersecurity, building up stacks, how computers function, breaking them down. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is cool. Because when I was little, I used to like take apart my toys and stuff like that and put them back together, like seeing how the stuff worked or taking apart the remote, getting in trouble a couple times for that.
Didn't we all do that? Hold up.
That's like a nerd thing to do.
I'm pretty sure we all got in trouble at one point in time for taking apart something of technology in our families.
For sure. And after I served my service and whatnot, I kind of felt like, Army was great. I deployed and I was like, this is great. I don't want to do this again. So I went ahead and got out. And then that's when I started just doing normal, like not like normal, but like IT, just like a service desk level. And I loved it. And then I got introduced to be like, hey, try this opportunity for cybersecurity. And I was like, whoa, that's too advanced for me. I'm just IT. I don't do stuff like that. Like that's a lot because I Googled it and I was just like, stuff I'm not going to do, stuff I don't understand. Like, no, not for me. But they're like, you never know until you challenge yourself. Like you can't stay here. You've got to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. I was just like, what does it hurt? Someone's going to give me the opportunity with my limited knowledge and whatnot. And so after a while, that was like in 2018, 2019. And since then, like this has been a whole like complete world. I remember, and ironically, you have the poster at the back of your wall, Hackers. So that Hackers movie, because I love Angelina Jolie. I watched that a ton of times because I was like, this is the coolest thing. And even though it's not like theoretically like
it is so inaccurate.
It
is a cult classic.
Like looking at cyber movies now, they're just like, I was like, oh my gosh, how did I think this was cool? Like he's literally not clicking anything. It's like that one movie with Hugh Jackman where he's a hacker and whatnot. And I was just like, this is embarrassing. I was like, I'm just looking at this, just like, that's not how it works. Like, and now you're just critiquing, just like I can barely watch military movies because I'm like, they don't do that. Nobody.
I don't critique the military ones, but I will laugh at like NCIS and stuff when you see like McGee and Abby both typing on the keyboard at the same time, and you're like, can't no one do that? That shit don't happen.
Like, no. But yeah, so since then, like I've done a lot in cyber, and I'm really trying to be consistent, especially with like helping like minorities and women and so people who aren't in the field as much, trying to pull them up in it. And if I can teach or if I can help or if I can encourage someone like I was, then I've had a successful day or a successful week or a successful
and we're gonna touch on that a little bit more because I have some viewpoints on that, and you said some things that ticked my boxes of like what you do to help, and so we're gonna touch on that a little bit more. But I'm glad that you do that. So don't get it twisted. I'm happy you do that, and I just went a little bit more. I want to go deeper into that, but before we go deeper into that, let's get Larci. Again, Larci, first time on the show, and you're here.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad to have you here. Again, same thing. Introduce yourself and what got you into cyber.
Hi, can you guys hear me? All well, I guess. Good. Awesome. thank you so much for having me on here. Thank you, Ryan, for suggesting me. And I know the rest of you, thank you for joining us too. This is one of my favorite things about, being a woman veteran is we're gonna reach out and pull those people up. Every single one of you do it in some sort of way. And I continue to try to do that every day too, because I find so much joy in helping others be successful. It does not, you know the story. I walked 10 miles in the cold to get to school when I was a kid, blah, blah, blah.
All our parents said that.
Yes, all our
Uphill.
parents said that.
Uphill both ways.
Uphill both ways, right? So it doesn't need to be like that. It needs to be, I worked really hard to get here, and I know I've learned some lessons, and I don't want you to fall into the same traps that I did of thinking that you can't do something or that there's not these opportunities out there for you. So I was in the Navy. I did not know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I did 2 years in college playing soccer. Changed my major like 3-4 times, and really just got to a point where I was like, you know what, I don't think this is a good idea to continue on at the university with no goal in mind at the end of it. So I joined the Navy to help pay for the rest of college, of course, and explore the world, see the world, go on an adventure, and I ended up in a really cool job that I never, ever would have thought was something that I could do as a cryptologic technician. So I did signals intelligence, and was exposed to the cyber world many years ago. Was actually at the first Navy Cyber Operations Command, and in the Norfolk area at Little Creek. So
wasn't Navy the first to have a cyber program? If I'm not mistaken, I think the Navy even beat the Air Force. They were the first one to have an actual cyber program.
So I wish I could show you. I am a plank owner of the Navy Cyber Defense Operations Command, and I have I'm a plank owner
lucky
on the wall.
Oh.
I was actually there before it was named that too. It was called NavCert, and then they named it Navy's NCDOC, Navy Cyber Defense Operations Command. So I got my first role there many years ago, and I got exposed to it, and it was really exciting. A lot of new things to learn. I definitely it's come a long way, because back then, even the military in that space, because it was so new for us, we were standing up, a SOC. We didn't have any tools to do analysis as far as like a threat intel analysis. We got a spreadsheet and a database and a who is lookup. Now go figure this out and tell us what's happening, So it was a lot of fun, a lot of new things to learn. Really, really cool technology as far as like things like I went from a ship to the Cyber Command. So the technology difference was huge. And, going back, but I spent 10 years in the Navy, and I think it gave me, exposure to so many, jobs out there. But I'll be honest, I did not think that I could get anything close to what I was doing in the military until I moved to Dallas. I thought I was going to have to stay in the, government sector forever. And I did work in the government through contracting jobs after the military for 8 years about. And then I finally came into corporate America just in 2018, I think. So that was really cool. Yeah. Yeah. So it's pretty crazy. This is a different ball game. The technology is all over the place and exciting too, because people are coming up with new ways to do things, and you can find, there's no Swiss Army knife out there to do all the things. So you get to go and learn
You're
new.
telling me all those AI vendors are lying to us? Bullshit.
So, this is funny. We have some cool stuff in the chat. Are we monitoring that too?
Oh, I got the chat up here, so we'll be good.
There's a private chat and a public chat.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so there's private for just us internally, and then yes, you can see, or hopefully can see, and if there's any questions you want to address, you can also log on to your own YouTube channels if you're on them. You're welcome to share to your own YouTube channels if you actually put stuff out there, but on YouTube, yes, you can chat with the commenters and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff. There's some good people here today. Space Tacos is one of my favorites. If you don't know who Space Tacos is, she's been on the show a few times. She doesn't always goes by Space Tacos, so I'm gonna leave it up to you guys to do your little investigative analysis and figure out who exactly she is. But she's amazing. Griffin InfoSec, another one. Misha, another one. And where'd she go all of a sudden?
She went into the chat and disappeared.
Right? So a lot of good people in the chat and everything else. All right, here's Larci. She's back. And she's in the same spot. I thought she was going to show up to the opposite side of you this time, right?
This is my fault.
but yeah, definitely. So we're gonna touch base more on what you've done, Larci. Ryan, yes, you're a repeat guest. I always love having you on. You were one of my favorite people ever. It was great meeting you in Texas in person. You're one of the only people I've ever met on this show actually in person. You're one of the few.
Gosh, that's so unfortunate for me. I'm kidding.
You're right, but still, you ain't gotta put that out there in public. Jeez.
No, that's so unfortunate for everyone else that they haven't had the pleasure of sharing a drink with you.
Dude, it was my honor, honestly, to meet you finally, Ryan. And I got to be honest. For those that don't know, Ryan, as the amazing person she is, has done a lot of things and seen the world in ways that I never will. Especially
you live vicariously through me, just as everyone else does.
I really do. You've done things recently that I honestly I could never do. My fear takes hold of me. I couldn't do a lot of the things that you do. So my heart goes out to you.
And this is why you need women in the military. Just mic drop. Stop there. So yeah, that's why you need women in the military, because boys can be scared.
I'm a little bitch. Like, let's be honest. There's a lot of things that I just can't do. I don't have the heart for it. And I'm just kind of like, you know what? I'll save that for others.
All right. Well, thank you, Derek. What he is referring to is actually I realized yesterday is the 1-year anniversary of when I was laid off. Not the greatest, but I did just get back. I spent about 3 months volunteering in the Middle East for the war. I was in Israel. I also did a lot of travel on my own to other countries. So I'm sure, at least that's what I assume he's talking about. I'm not sure anymore.
It is. I mean, come on, you know me, right?
But I don't want to go too much into, I'll take it for a sec, right? As you've mentioned a few times, Derek, I've been on the show before, so I won't go too much into detail like I have before, but I joined the United States Air Force after high school. I selected the job of a fusion analyst. I'll be honest, I'm not sure I really understood what that meant. It was one of those fancy jobs that required a top secret clearance. And so I'm still convinced to this day that what I read and what I actually had to do, because it was so, what I read originally was not classified. And what I did was that somebody just wrote something that kind of seemed like it might be accurate, or maybe it was accurate at one time, but they didn't want to declassify the new, who knows what. So as an intel airman, I got assigned into a cyber mission. Also, like Larci, I was in SIGINT, or signals intelligence. But once you were in cyber, you were always in cyber. I know since then, a lot of the career fields have kind of merged, or at least in the Air Force, kind of, been through a few iterations now. I think at the time they didn't know like who was what. You had a few different AFSCs that were essentially doing the same things. I'm very honest, and I think it's worth advocating. Since day one, I was pretty much told I could not be an intelligence airman or a cyber airman because I was an extroverted female. So both female and extroverted were points against me. It's why I am really passionate about Women's Veterans Day, because women are legitimate veterans. So I know we're not getting the free food yet. And it's not just about that, but I do believe that since I at least know I worked twice as hard as my male counterparts. So I'm more than fine with everyone celebrating us twice. So you can celebrate me now, and you can celebrate me again in November.
I always celebrate you, Ryan.
Okay. I'm just throwing that out there. But anyway, I did get out after 5 years. Actually, when I got out, I had this, like, I kid you not, a light bulb moment. I don't feel like I've had many of these in my life. And I just remember thinking, I can do this. I can do cybersecurity, because I was kind of like, do I stay in this? Do I not? And I decided to pursue it in college. And so I do have a degree in cybersecurity. I also have a degree in disaster management. I would like to now pursue for an MBA. And last year, I was actually asked to be a teaching assistant for the graduate program at Harvard. So I am now doing that, which I really love and support the education side as much as I can for the next iteration. But I also believe that despite some of the hardships I saw, and I hope no one else did, but I know the reality is that's not it. To what Larci also said, yeah, I want to make it better for the next, I believe, having especially just been in Israel where they do have a countrywide draft still, I do wish and hope more people in our country, especially women, understood that. But more importantly, I think, I could be out with Derek. I've been out with other veteran friends of mine. I'll have people say, oh, you to the guy, you look like a veteran. Thank you for your service. And then I'm like, what the hell am I? Chapped liver? Like, hello. You think that what? They're just one veteran? Like, you don't think we hang out and like two peas in a pod? I have been before where I'll be with like 3 or 4 of my veteran guys, and sure, they'll have a girlfriend or a wife, but then other people assume that I'm the girlfriend or the wife. And so, and I will say I have spoken once before on a female veterans panel. In the audience afterwards, a lot of them asked me like, they said something like, I thought only women in the military could be nurses, which is so.
How outdated are you that you think that? Like that.
But I think that's part of now my mission of advocating. So women can be intelligence. We can be doctors, not just the nurses. We could be the doctors. We could be the pilots. We could be, even in infantry.
Well, there was recently a U.S. Air Force pilot that became Miss America at the same time.
Oh yeah. Well, the point is this is one of the reasons I advocate for it. It's, I think it's still very much needed, at least in our country. And
it definitely is.
At least the sad reality for me is when I was like, Derek, let's do a panel. I was like, I'm not sure I know too many women in cyber, specifically military veterans. And
I'm mad. I forgot one that I should have had on here, and I'm going to call her out because she has been on this show several times. Natalie Baker. It wasn't until I had already put out the advertisements, I had done everything this week, and I was like, shit, I'm going to have to call her and apologize to her because she's another Navy veteran that I'm like, I'm going to have to call and apologize because
we'll do it again next week. Anyway, that's a little bit about me. That's why I was like, Derek, if you're gonna do something next week, if you don't have something planned, you should do this. So I appreciate the support from Derek, and I'm glad that I'm on a stage with all these other lovely ladies and strong military women veterans.
And Ryan, to touch a little bit on what you were saying, and then I do want to get to Gabby's point about what she's doing, and I want to touch on everybody. This is going to be a long show. An hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't know. We'll see how long it goes. It's my show. I don't fucking care. But Ryan, to touch on your point about not knowing that the women veterans and the female veterans that are out there, I think part of that comes down to the fact that men have always, the short hair, the beards, that when they get out, there's a way to differentiate them that almost you can tell they're a veteran. For women, women always have a different, appearance about them that it is very difficult to tell that a woman is a veteran.
Yes, but if you ask most people just to think of a veteran.
Oh yeah, I hands down, I agree. I completely agree with you.
Like people are still just surprised to. Yeah, and I get it. I mean, when you put the numbers into perspective, 1% of Americans are actively in our military.
Correct.
And I just said before
and then you're looking at like another subset of that 1% that are actually.
I think I've heard that it's like at least above 25%, maybe not in all job fields equally, but give or take at least over that, quarter of a mark, which, and then I did say that there's at least, I think we finally hit 12% of women veterans in the veteran community. And so much, I did try to post a link. It kind of posted funky, but the Veterans Affairs mission statement has, I think it was like a year ago, they officially changed it. So it didn't just say supporting men, it said supporting veterans, or they made it inclusive. I already forgot it, but yeah.
But so I just point, it needs to be, but unfortunately, because there's a definitive way you can tell a man has been in the military. They just go about it and they're like, hey, I'm gonna do this. Like if you go out for Veterans Day. But for women, it's I'm a woman. I'm here. I've been the same way. I'm not changing my appearance just because I'm out. Men change their appearance.
Oh, I changed.
When you're in, you can't have a beard. When you get out, you're like, I'm gonna have a beard because you told me for 20 years I'm not allowed to have one.
Yeah, but you have a beard
now-
and you still have a military haircut. Someone still would ask you if you were in the service. I think they would. I think someone would ask you. Someone's probably asked you, right? That have you been? Were you? Yeah. So I don't think it's so much about appearance. Because like I have an Air Force veterans hat, and I've literally been asked at least twice, was that really my hat?
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the sad part. Like
it's pretty. I'm literally spelling it out for you. I wear the hat.
I'm telling you, yes, right here. Yeah. It's right. Is that
and
your
then what
hat?
I feel like is in just my experience that some people look for almost like clues of like, is she telling the truth or is this a joke? It's like, and I've had some people, for example, say,
I
like,
love it, Larci. Where'd you get that? And I want to buy one.
I found it on Amazon.
That is cute. So like some people have told me like if they realize or if I say I have tattoos, they're like, oh, well, that makes more sense because you did say you're a veteran. And I'm like, now I need tattoos to like.
Why do tattoos dictate veteran? Because I know
apparently
a lot of don't like tattoos.
The idea, I guess, of a veteran is like a tattooed, probably Marine, because you know they're gonna have their.
Oh, it's full sleeve.
Well, they're gonna have I don't know. But so I've literally had that comment at least like more times than I can count about. Oh, well, that makes sense if you're a veteran and you have tattoos like that. That makes sense. And I'm like, that's the part that makes sense is just the tattoos part.
I get where you're coming from. Again, I just think in my eyes, it is easier to distinguish who may or may not have with males.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but it's not about distinguishing it. It's just about even expecting that women can be.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's just like such a, I think, mental shock to some people. Like, they just can't, I think they don't even, it's not like they can't even fathom it. I do believe there are especially men and women that just can't fathom that a woman would want to join the military.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I think that there's more
right? Like, why would you want to put yourself? Because I care. Because I want to serve. Because I belong. Like, I can give a ton of reasons why women would want to serve in the military. I grew up with 3 older sisters and a mom and a dad. Granted, it was all the men in my family that served.
How many reasons?
Huh?
Did you say 3 reasons? How many reasons?
No, I said I grew up with 3 older sisters.
Oh.
But, I may have been the only one that served out of my siblings, but it doesn't mean that I don't have other sisters that have been in the military. I've got so many women that I've served with. So, like, to have this mindset that women can't serve just blows my mind. Utterly blows my mind. And I'm talking, one of my best friends is in offensive security for the Army. She serves as one of the top cybersecurity people in the military. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I can't fathom this idea, but that's just me. People that still hold to they clutch their pearls when somebody does something outside of their norm. I'm like, I'm sorry, it exists. What do you want from me? But going on that, Gabby, you said something that really hit a point with me, and that you teach and actually reach out and go and talk to other people to get them involved in cybersecurity. And that's a big sticking point with me, right? So when we talk about diversity, when we talk about inclusion, when we talk about visibility and just showing you belong, I always preach on, if you want to show that you belong here, then go out there and talk to people. Literally go to the schools, go talk to women or minorities or whatever. And you're saying you actively do that. So explain a little bit more about what you do to kind of bring these people up and show them they belong.
So I think first off, the most important thing is, probably not now, I work from home, but you're always supposed to dress for the role that you want, or the role that you're aiming for. So even if I am a security engineer or IT or help desk or whatever, I am dressing for manager, CISO looking tight. I have my hair, my suit, like everything I am ready. So, and when I'm walking around, because I'll go to the store or I'll go meet my friends and family for dinner or whatnot. And I remember several times people will be like, oh, like, you look fancy. What do you do? Well, let me go ahead and enlighten you, I do cybersecurity. They're like, well, tell me more. There was like one young lady who was just like, wow, you look really nice. You look really fancy. And while she was like serving my meal and whatnot, and I was like, you can get into this too. don't think that this is for your forever. Like, if you want some more information, here's my email. Printed out part of the receipt, wrote my email, and I was just like, I do cybersecurity, and it is always a welcoming world for women. And she was a minority, and I was like, especially for minorities, there's just not enough women and minorities. You want information, I can get you there.
Yeah.
But it's up to you to take that step. So I was just like, that's.
Did she reach out?
Yeah, she did. So normally when I go out and like, again, dressing the role, people will ask, it's like, oh, like, what do you do? Or even not even dressing up, just being like talking with people, going random places, whatnot. I'll meet a lot of people and like, oh, what do you do? And I'll be like, oh, I do cybersecurity. They're like, oh, wow, really? It's like, yeah. It's like, oh, well, what is like it's not like the movies. And I'm like, well, if you're interested, it is a great field to be in. Yes, it's lucrative if you do it right. You'll make a good paycheck and whatnot. And I was just like, but it's like, it is the only place that you will go that you will never catch up to the learning of that element. It is such a fast growth, like the people behind, like not behind, but like the younger generation, they're coming in smarter because they're doing this stuff as toddlers. You got little kids like just clicking and clacking computers and tablets, and their education is already way advanced from where we were. When I was a certain number of years ago.
Hey, hold up. I think that's all of us.
So I mean,
minus Ryan. I think Ryan's the youngest one here.
Am I? I'm 31. I guess.
I'm 37.
You're younger than me, both of you.
I'm 25 forever. And I've been holding that for a long time.
21 at heart, Gabby. 21 at heart.
Yeah.
I will go out and throw down with the best of them. I will regret it for the next week, but I will throw down with the best of them that night.
Can't tell me nothing. But yeah, so like if anybody, like, and I'll bring it to everybody. Like currently, like my biggest like push and inspiration is my twin sister. So I've been like, hey, she sees it and it's interesting and she likes it, and I'm just like if I can just. Like, and she's got her focus and she's taking courses now. She's getting into that right direction. She's actually went to Larci's groups a couple of times, and she's really interested. She's slow paced in learning it, but I'm just like, I just want her in this so bad. Like, it would be so cool to work with her. And I remember like when we were younger and we worked together at Target. When we worked together, we used to switch name tags because we're like very identical. We used to like switch name tags and just like be running around and nobody could tell. It was really fun. But working with her, and she is so intelligent, especially when I see people who already have that like that natural instinct to want to learn and are like already technically savvy. Like those are the people that you really want to push. Like, hey, you're welcomed in this field. Let me show you. Like, it's not as exaggerated as in the movies. I was like, but it is something like you wouldn't believe how creative people are. Like,
we have red tape and bureaucracy that we got to go through. We can't be like McGee, who can just break into shit and be like, oh yeah, it's okay. It was me.
Yeah. And they fit all the investigations in like 20 minutes. It's like they took you through in the whole time thing, and it's just like and they figured everything out in like 20 seconds, and they're like, man, we did all this work, and I'm over here like I'm on my second week trying to figure out like where this link went to, and like how many
did anybody click on this? 20,000 pot of coffee, my 50th C4, and I'm just trying to figure it out.
Yes, and I'm just like, I'm tired. But yeah, and then there's like, it's not even just one, because, analysts and engineers and whatnot, it's not just ever just one little incident. It's like 40, 50, 20, like whatever's in your scope for that day, not necessarily even for that week. Then like, the graces of the movies, it's like, oh, just that one investigation. And then they did it. They changed lives. And I'm over here like 40 tickets trying to be like, but I mean, even with that, it's exciting, and it's like learning, and it's like, wow, like, learning about hacking and what they did, reading these codes and breaking down this information. And it's just like, trying to get people to be like, it's more than what the movie make it. Like, you could do this, you can do this. And it's like, not just one element, like, because you've got like coding, and you've got engineers, you've got analysts, you've got like GRC and people who do like audits and stuff like that. Me myself personally, I love GRC. I love doing audit stuff. I love doing like policies. And before, like I just wanted to be help desk, and now here I am. Like this is the direction I want to go, and I'm just like telling people like, don't get stuck on one thing. Like tell me what you need. I'm going to show you what certifications are most popular. I'm not going to lie to you and be like, oh yes, you're the recruiters and are going to do this. And oh yeah, if you say this, no, like I'm gonna give it to you real. Like what you have on your resume is not good enough. Or this is what you need. You need this baseline cert. Or if you're going to speak to what you know. Don't make stuff up because you sound silly. Like learn it. And if not, here, this is a link. This has a bunch of information. I have time on my schedule for a weekend, 2 hours. You want to go over that? I will teach you. I will teach you everything that I know. What you take with that is on you. The only thing that I ask for, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, do you do courses? No. The only thing that I ask for is that you pay it forward. When someone needs help, you help them without a condition, without needing something.
That's the conversation I've had with others. And that never lie on your resume. If you say you know something, or you say you've practiced it or worked at it, you better fucking know it. Because if I'm gonna ask you questions, you're like, oh well, I've never done that. Well, why is it on your resume?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna ask you.
I'd be surprised if someone is lying on their resume.
I've seen it.
I've seen it. Yeah, people lie.
I mean, yeah, people lie about everything, and I can only imagine how it's getting worse. But man, that's just like.
Yeah,
I had someone.
But that's why you ask questions on the resume. You ask like, "Hey, can you explain what this is?" I mean, that makes sense, but it's just like that shocks me.
I had someone that applied for a job. During the interview process, the technical interviewers were like, "Hey, explain what you've done with this," and they're like, "Oh, well, I've never actually done that." Then why is it on your fucking resume, homie? Like, why is it there?
Yeah.
And so I've seen that. But before I move on to more of Santina and Larci and Ryan, we're going to work around because, this show is going to be going on for a while. Space Tacos wants to know, Gabby, what positions you and your twin played in softball?
So I played pitcher, third, sometimes second, and center. And she was catcher, third, and first.
See, I was a center fielder, but I love it. Going on though, man, so many people, so many questions, so many things to do. Larci, since you're not muted and Santina is, she decided to just mute her mic and just be like, I don't want to be.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize that I had to just throw myself out there. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead, Larci.
So,
and then I'll say
Larci,
something. Kind
of like, what are you looking at when you're looking at your career path forward and what people did? What are you looking at? And really, truly, how did you get to where you're at today?
How did I get where I was at? Where I'm at? This is a fun story. It's long though, because
let's do the TLDR.
Yes, the Navy obviously exposed me to lots of things I didn't know existed, and then turn around the government contracts. I also got exposed to more things, but I also learned along the way that I really like to educate people. I like to teach them things. I like to help them practice those things and test them. Those are things that I really enjoy doing. So I even have my own company where I do incident response tabletops for a few customers to practice, because in the Navy, you practice, and practice again. And that's why we're so good, is we know what the heck we're doing because we practice and we get it right. And so I took that along the way too, and got to work in, the exercise, not cyber, but just war games, right? The Army, Navy, Air Force, we all practice together as a joint effort and when we're working, on those types of exercises. So I got to expose to that and touching all of the technology and becoming a system administrator and learning things that are not analyst things, because I know that the guy, the maintenance tech that I need to help me fix something does have to sleep. And I didn't want to wake him up to do something I could probably figure out on my own or have him teach me. So just, learning all the things and really going in and saying, I don't know how to do this. And that's okay to say, I don't know how to do this, but I really want to learn how. Can you give me the opportunity? Like, I want to try to do this. I want to try to learn how to do a job so I don't have to be so dependent on you, my coworker or whatever, and getting, figuring out what everyone is doing and learning. And then, switching from government to, to the corporate America really came because as like Gabby, unlike Gabby, and we've had this conversation before, I am not a big fan of GRC. I think it's boring, but I know people love
It's
it.
a necessary evil because we would not have jobs without GRC.
Correct. I know that it's very, very necessary. I just don't want to be the one doing it. I won't lie. So I know it's necessary. I understand. I like the building of what the project to get things in order. But once it's in order, I want to go do something else. I want to do another thing.
Yes.
I like the operations of, working as an analyst in the Navy, as a signals intelligence analyst, and as a threat intel analyst in corporate America. I like the constant of, learning something new and keeping on top of what the attackers are doing, because they're definitely, staying one step ahead, it seems like, all the time, and thinking like outside the box. And then, eventually I did attempt to do something outside of the threat intel space, and I tried, and I loved the team efforts, the projects that we were working on at one of my corporate America jobs, and I got exposure to that, and I learned really what they're doing and how they're doing it and what they need. And now I could say, okay, I can support what they're doing on that team way better. And that's another thing, is like, hey, maybe it's not for you, but go try it. See where it fits into where you do like to work. You're going to get exposure to that too. But along the way, I realized that, and I got shifted. I want to do something. Give me some advice. Where did I go? I went to my boss, my mentor, my leaders, and said, hey, this isn't for me. But I really love leading people. I really like, I like to do all this cyber things and connecting people and keeping the strategy in line for what we're doing in cyber as well as the business. That was really, interesting to me, and said, maybe you should go do some public facing, customer facing roles in the future, which is how I got into sales. So now I'm a sales engineer. I've been about 3 years, and I do enjoy it. It is a lot of fun. I still really like getting in the trenches with the other cyber defenders. Still, I want to be a part of that as well. So I'm torn. Like, where's my favorite spot? I don't really know. I enjoy both. I really, really do. And I think I've learned a lot from my military experience about being flexible in all things that we do, because our resources aren't near, as easy to get as they are for corporate America. I mean, to be honest, especially if you're, out at sea or deployed or whatever, you're limited and you figure it out. I'm very resourceful.
That's good.
We
Well, when you look at everything, right, it's about relationship building within sales.
Yeah.
As a sales engineer, a client advisor, a solutions architect, when you're dealing with that, it's about relationship building. And I think those in the military are very good at that, because we have to be able to talk to anybody and everybody. You have to be able to establish that. And I come from PsyOps within the Army. So you have to be able to do those types of things. And so, when we look at our careers, when we look at what we've done as veterans, and women veterans especially, you ladies, I'm sorry, I've talked to so many women veterans that have dealt with and put up with shit that I will never understand a day in my life. To this day, I will never understand it. From one of my favorite medics when I was at Fort Riley, Kansas. Her name was Dasha. Love her to death. One of my favorite people, has been pulled over for the dumbest shit. Like even in the military, we see the bullshit that goes on. And so it leaks over, unfortunately.
Right.
I think that you ladies have been able to adapt and overcome and do so much more, and really see through kind of what's really out there, and be able to adapt and do all these things. And I'm sorry, I can never measure up to what you ladies have done in your careers and lives. I just can't. Because of the situations that you have been put in,
Right.
especially in the military.
Yeah.
You get put into these situations where it's like, oh, you got to act like a man. Homie, I'm not a man. I'm sorry, I don't piss standing up. I got needs. I got to do the needful, and I can't do what you do, but I can do better than you do in certain aspects. And so that is where I think we need to understand that there are these differences, and that there are things that you are going to be better than us at,
Yeah.
hands down. And there are going to be things that we are going to be better than you at. It's just a way of the world. But to ever negate someone based on who they are, look, if you can do the damn job, do the damn job. And for anybody to take that away from you, I'm sorry. Go fly a kite. Go kick rocks. Go out there with a mop or a broom and just clean the driveway and the parking lot, because you've literally you're a waste of space.
All in all,
I like.
though, my last statement for that is that I seeked out veteran mentors to help guide
Yeah.
me on my path, and they have been, hands down, yes. Somebody asked in the chat, do you think it pushed your careers forward? It held it back for time's sake, but pushed me for skill's sake, if that makes sense. So I stayed, I'm in 10
That's
years,
Misha.
yes.
That's one of us.
Still, yeah.
We'll touch on that. I'll bring that up here in a second. But before I do that, I get where you're coming from, Larci. I do want to talk to Santina a little bit, though.
Yes.
Santina, you've been through a lot. You've done a lot. I
How
looked through
did
your
you know?
profile. I've seen kind of what you've been doing.
Uh-huh.
So kind of explain where you're at in your career, what brought you to where you're at, right? So who has helped you? What has really guided you to getting to being able to push what you're doing?
Well, thank you for asking. I'm gonna bounce off a little bit what Larcy says, but shifting is important. If you have somebody in your organization, and let's say you have an interest in cybersecurity like I did, I had someone who was a mentor and who was senior, and she says, "Okay, and she wasn't a veteran, but she understood that I wanted more, so she allowed me to do a detail because I work for the government, so we do details as an ISO, so cybersecurity officer. Okay, I want to try something else, so I looked and I start taking classes in hacking. Now, was I perfect at it? Could I say that I'm an expert? No, but I feel that everything is learnable and that you don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. And that's something that I was raised on. I may have not had the perfect life. Nobody has, but I do know that you can step out and you can learn things, and everyone has the ability to learn. Sometimes it may take you longer to learn it. Sometimes you'll be real quick with it, but cybersecurity has so many different dynamics. So you could do GRC if you want. I understand how that can seem a boring. Pen testing
I
seems
hate
more
paperwork.
exciting to me. But yeah, so I mean, you could do pen testing. You be the defense offense team. Red team, blue team, purple team. You can find that avenue, but don't let somebody tell you you can't do it. And I say that as a woman and as an African American minority woman. I've been told that I'm not technical. I've been told that I won't fit in that place. Do you think that's going to stop me? I got in a boat
No, better not.
before it used
Better
to.
not. You've been an airman. Look, hey, we fly high.
And even as an
Fuck their
airman,
glass ceilings, they don't exist.
even as an airman. But see, if I didn't have the opposition, I wouldn't have the approval. So when people were opposing me and trying to push me in the back and not train me or give me opportunity, there was somebody that was watching, and somebody went and pushed me to the forefront. So when I was in the Air Force, it was a lieutenant, and she was our section chief. And she says, "You know what, Santina? They don't want you to do this. They don't want you to do that. I want you to take work group management classes." And when people do that for you and you've been suppressed or held back, you better run with it. Now, I still had struggled with the fact that I wasn't good enough. I didn't think that I would be able to figure that stuff out, but I had those opportunities. So, regardless, I've learned that regardless of what people say, you do what you can do. You do what you feel that they didn't create you. And that's what I said in one of our last statements. They didn't bring you into this world, so they don't know who you actually are. You be who you are, and you get into the cyber. If you want to do cybersecurity, you do cybersecurity, regardless what happens. We have those. Some people have that syndrome with the guidance counselor, and you go to the guidance counselor and you tell them, "Hey, I want to be an astronaut." That guidance counselor looks at you and was like, "Well, maybe you need to look into being um, a teacher or a nurse." Don't listen to them. I think that happened with Michelle Obama. I love her book, and I had read it, Becoming Michelle. But you can't let people do that to you, and too often people have. And if you're in cybersecurity, find where you fit in. If you have to dance around, if you have to do some shifting, then do it. But don't get discouraged. I'm
But here's the thing: you
I'm
said
happy.
something I don't agree with.
Okay, what it is?
Don't go where you fit in. Go where you want to be.
That's
You
true.
see, you see. Here's the thing, right? As a society, we just want to fit in, right?
Hmm.
And here you hear what's normal, what's right, this is normal, this is normal. No, 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 no. I tell my kids all the time, be abnormal, because
Right.
we should all be original. We should all be ourselves, and you're all individual people.
But I do want to jump
Don't
in
ever
here
try to fit
because
in. Be
Okay.
yourself.
But I want
Well,
to jump in and say
okay, go
that,
ahead.
like, one thing I've been realizing lately is what environments what environments am I in, especially work related, let's say, or career related, where I don't feel like I have to have my guard up.
Oh yeah. Well, that's
That's different than
always.
being comfortable. It means I'm
Yes.
actually comfortable with being uncomfortable because I'm comfortable enough to try something and I feel supported enough that if I can't do it, I won't be ostracized or like the whole women, community will be blamed at large. That I will be given the opportunity to learn and given a second chance if it's required, that I can be human. Because
Well,
so often, especially for women, we have to be perfect. We're not
Wait,
allowed
you're
to.
allowed to be
right.
human?
And can I say something real quickly about the fitting in? I'm never going to fit in because I'm always going to be different than everyone that I'm around. I'm
Well,
not. I'm not saying that in a bad way because I'm
no,
okay
no,
with it.
no.
But I'm saying that I may be the only person on the team that is 35 years old. Or I may
You're
be,
younger than me,
because
Santina, so I don't want to
no,
hear it.
no, I'm not. But like, I may be the only African American on the team. I may be the only black female. That's happened before. So, could I say that I fit in? No, but I could say that um, they see me. You know, that's gonna be a challenge. Sometimes you have to shift to where they see you and they value you, and it may take a long time to get there, but I'm gonna just be who I am. I've learned that. Before, I felt if I hid myself, if I was quiet, if I kept my mic on mute, then I won't have to worry about any adversity. It's time for me to step out of that and do what I need to do. I know I'm a very intelligent woman. I know I read a lot of books in cybersecurity. I know I did that ISO detail. I know I've got my master's. I have my certification in threat detection. It's time for me to be confident in what I have. So
So I'm gonna
that's
tell
what
you, Airman White. You
I
see, me as a staff sergeant in the Army, so I was an E6. I don't know everybody's ranks, but we're gonna say based on time and service, I probably outrank most of you. So
We were the
at
same.
my rank, I
Mhm.
am going to tell you, shut the fuck up. You all belong. Open your mouth and speak. You
Right.
belong here. Every single one of you belong in cybersecurity. Every single one of you has a voice. And if a company, an organization, or anybody doesn't value what you bring to the table, tell them to shut the fuck up, move on. and go along, because you
Yeah.
do not go where you're you do not stay with a company where you're not valued. You
Right.
go where you're valued. Quit trying to change an organization. Organizational structure and culture isn't going to change.
Yeah.
That they are where they're at, and until they change, until somebody in their 20s or 30s finally gets in that CEO position, it's not going to change.
Mhm.
Go where you're valued. Quit expecting people to change for you.
Oh
You
yeah.
go where you know you can make a difference.
Absolutely.
So I stand by the fact that everybody here on this panel right now, Larci, Santina, Gabby, Ryan, you all belong in cybersecurity. You all have a voice. You all have a seat at the table. You all have value.
Oh
But
yeah.
quit expecting other people to feel the exact same way, because they're not.
And I get you
Because
on that, but you have to have a strategy on how you can navigate it, because some of them are not going to go anywhere. It's been
this
years.
is true. Look
They're
at
not
any
going to
of the
go.
FANGs. Look at any of the large organizations that have been around for years. Look at any of those. They're not going
Hmm.
to change for you.
No.
They have multi-billion and trillions of dollars, and people are like, I want to work at a FANG. I never want to work at a FANG. I'm sorry. I will never work at a company that cares more about the bottom dollar than they do about the people.
That's it.
Work at the companies that care about the people. That is where each one of you will find value, because they care about you. They care about what you bring to the table. I would, in a heartbeat, and Ryan knows this, I am still working on this, hire each and every one of you. I would in a heartbeat. Every single one of you. I would do it in a heartbeat. Why? Because you bring value to an organization.
That's right.
And that is what other people don't understand. So I
Well,
just
I love
hope
it,
one day people see that
Oh
no matter
yeah.
who you are, you
Well, you
bring
know
value.
who's going to see it? It's going to be us. So once we get to that place and we're able to kick some of these doors down, then it's going to be us that are going to need to hire us. If you know what I mean. We're going to have to bring in the other ladies. Now, I'm not saying that we'll just have a women's workforce, but we'll be fair enough to give an opportunity, because we can relate to what
To,
others experience.
to everybody, you got to be able to understand that. And this is why, this is why me and Ryan have these conversations. Me and Ryan talk
Mhm.
all the time. Don't get it twisted. I love Ryan to death. It is one of those things where we have these conversations of, what can I do better? How can I improve? How can I do more? And same questions get asked. All right, what am I missing that would allow me to get hired here, here, and here?
Yeah.
You see, I've been in the workforce. I retired out of the Army in 2017. So I've been in the workforce for a hot minute. Got to where I'm at based on, hey, I'm going to make friends and I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to find my way, find my vision. All you ladies, find your network and be like, you know what? Yo, she got this. I'm gonna go work for her. Or I'm friends with him. I'm gonna go work for him, because I know he's gonna take care of me, or I know she's gonna take care of me. I know at the end of the day, this is what we're gonna get.
Wait,
I want all of you to understand.
Derek, someone just asked a really great question.
And I see that. That's Robert. Robert, who he did a super chat. So if y'all don't know what super chats are, that brings me a little bit of money to be able to bring more people on and do more things. We're gonna bring this up. Robert Notar Francesco, who is one of my warriors, one of my family. I love him to death. What advice would you each give to my daughter, who is watching with me? She is 8 years old. Let's start with Ryan.
Okay. My advice would be, do not be in a rush to grow up. I often find that, for one, also the beauty, I think, of being a veteran is it allowed us to learn more about the world. I'm not going to say see more of the world, because all I technically saw through the Air Force was Texas. I'm originally from New York, and I saw a whole lot of Texas. I do travel on my own. That's a separate story. But when I was in high school and when I was trying to figure out, and I felt that the world, which at the time, and I don't think it's changed, they pressure you. What are you going to major in? At like, where do you want to go to college? What do you want to major in? And I believe that young people have an idea of who they are, but they haven't had a chance to see if they are who they think they are. And as I mentioned before, I had this light bulb moment when I got out of the Air Force. I think I was 25 or 26. And it was then that I felt like I understood my calling. I already had been doing cyber, but I wasn't even sure that I wanted to do it yet. And so for many reasons, I will just say a lot of statistics show that about 25 years old actually is the time that you probably know who you are, and outside of any major changes, like, first of all, also find something you enjoy. You're going to know what you're really good at. You're going to know what you like. You're going to know what you don't like. You're going to know what you can do or can't do. So take that time. Do not feel pressured or allow the pressure to force you to make a decision. And it's not a race. That's my mantra now. I'm 31 years old, and I'm like, I'll get there when I get there. Of course, that does not excuse laziness, but I now want to go for my MBA. And whether I start my MBA next year or in 3 years, it's still going to take the same amount of time. So I need to figure out what's important to me in my career, in my life, and who depends on me to figure out when the right time for me to go do what I want to go do is. So there's probably a few different things in there, but that's my answer. And I love that question.
That is a good question.
That is a good question.
Yeah, I have a daughter actually, and this is the advice that I give to her. Like, yes, you see me doing this and you're excited and I want to do that too. Doesn't mean you have to do it, but I want you to go and explore, just like Ryan said, like go explore lots of things before you settle on something you're going to do, because guess what? You're going to be doing this for a very long time, working to live. So we're working to live, not living to work. That's no fun. But that would be mine. Like, really, find something you enjoy, because and it might, there might be multiple things you enjoy, because you can change your mind. I have met tons of people recently that are career changers. They're switching from, teaching school children, or a dental tech, or another one. The other, they're exploring lots of things, and all of those experiences are going to be helpful in this field as well. And I like to remind people of that. It's like, hey, don't to all the veterans out there, when you come out and you say you were in the military and you were a dental tech and you don't have any experience, you're lying. You have experience. You have great experience. You worked in the military. There's lots of even security experience. So there's lots of ways to tie those things in. You worked on a team, processes and procedures, that, the things to get into a military facility require your, being with your ID, having the right uniform on, like all of the things. There is some value to that across the board in any role. Cybersecurity, there's tons of them because of what we had to do just to go to deploy or do their job. But my advice, explore all the things with Ryan. I want you to take time to figure out what you want to do in your career, and then so don't pressure into sticking to it. You're going to do it for a long time. Pick something fun.
But also join the Air Force. If you're going to do anything, go in the Air Force.
Oh, yeah. And that too. I definitely told my children both. If you're going to choose one, to go to the Air Force.
Can I say something real quick? Also, find your tribe. So find other people who have the same interest, not same interest, but find people who have an interest in cybersecurity too. And then those that are in cybersecurity, so you can speaking with them and they can help you. So have your tribe, your mentors, your peers, people that will encourage you through your path.
So I'm gonna say something. You need to listen to all of these ladies, but understand that everybody is an individual.
Yes.
Everybody is an individual. No two people are alike. And if you think two people are alike, then you're wrong. Because everybody thinks differently. Regardless of what media feeds you, everybody's different. Everybody thinks differently. So go about your merry way, but you are an individual. Think how you want to think. And I'll let these ladies get back at it, because this is just a question that y'all.
Oh.
It's Derek's world.
I said what he said it. Yeah, but
Robert wants us to answer. Each one of us have an answer, I'm sure.
Oh, I did want to answer for the advice thing, because, to the young lady, and for me, I'm a very analytical person. I'm very realistic. So, with the greatest salt. But, young lady, life is hard. It's going to be harder because you're a woman. It just is. But you will rise above every obstacle. It is in our DNA to rise. So, anytime that times get hard, don't worry. You will rise above it. That's it.
Life's tough. Get a helmet. As they would say on Boy Meets
Yeah,
World.
but one thing, if it's tough for you, don't make it tough for others.
That's the
You
biggest
know?
thing, and I think that is the problem we have in our society today. And we
Mhm.
saw that in the military. All of us as veterans, we saw that in the military. Well, this is what I went through. This is what I had to do. This is the way it is. This is just the way it should be. Da 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 da. No, you can make it better. You
That's
can
right.
make it better. And by that I mean you don't have to be less. You see, I think basic training, I will stand 10 toes down on basic training has become soft. And that is because I think that you have to rise as a unit. So you have to break people down, truly break them down, and make them come together as a family, as a unit, to stand them back up and be like, nah,
Mhm.
this is what we're going to do. But saying that,
I
you
work with some, if you don't mind me interjecting, I work with some ladies, they were horrible. They were miserable, you
exactly.
know? And I'm like, why? And then they cried about somebody treating them wrong. Well, what makes you think you could go out and treat everyone else nasty too?
Exactly.
Yeah,
You
that's
know, get it
That
Precisely.
wouldn't treat them
together.
better.
Mhm.
So me and as those that have watched this show know, and Ryan knows, and a lot of other people know, I grew up with 3 older sisters. I have a wife. I have 5 boys. I am both grateful and ungrateful for that because I wish I had a daughter, but at the same time, I'm glad I got 5 boys because it's hard for a woman out there. But at the same time, it is very much so. You women are the hardest on each other.
But not
Women
all women.
are
To be
the
No, not
clear.
oh,
hardest on each
yeah.
other.
And not all men are like I could sit here and tell you, you know, a handful of men that have made my career a living hell.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Awesome men, Derek, you being one of them, you know, that make my career
Love you,
better.
Ryan.
And I get sad that people make it so gender. Like I've had men be like, why should I support women if women can't even support each other? And I'm like, that's your
Yeah,
that's
right.
because
Like,
that's
why?
where you feel like it's okay. Yeah.
But it is. I have found in my life that when it comes to judgmentalism, women are harder on each other. And again, this is a generalization. This again, not all women, but as a generalization, women are harder on each other in public versus private. Well, they're harder on each other in private too. Versus men who generally make things more private. They'll be harder on other guys. I'm like, dude, you're a piece of shit. I'm not going to put that on TikTok or Facebook or anything else, but I'm going to tell you to your face, you're a piece of shit. You're screwing up. So I think it comes to a differentiation. This is why people think, oh, men don't judge other men. No, we do. Just it's not public. We don't put that shit out on Facebook and say, hey, he's a piece of shit. We tell him to his face and look, if we got to throw down, we're going to throw down. But at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you, you're a piece of shit. Whereas, unfortunately, and this is where cybersecurity matters. This is where social media matters. This is where everything we do in our lives matter. A lot of people will put their problems and judge others in public. Quit judging in public. Quit being public about your problems. You got an issue, take it off. Take it off to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Judge each other, talk to each other, discuss things with each other offsite, do whatever. But in public, y'all should be praising each other, talking each other up. Look, I will stand 10 toes down, and everybody knows this. Anybody who wants to belong in cybersecurity, I will praise you to the moon if you're learning and growing and want to be here. But when you fuck up, I'm going to talk to you off to the side. I'm not going to leave a fucked up comment on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. I'm going to talk to you off the side and be like, hey, look, this probably wasn't the right thing to say. This just wasn't. You probably should have adapted it a different way.
You're hitting on something that's really interesting on gender that I just want to call out. It was in a leadership seminar I attended a long time ago. there was a study done, I think, in the 80s, and it said to both men and women, it says, you know, like what is super important to you? And both groups said teamwork.
Mhm.
But then, and it was done within this like team, and essentially there was friction between the men and the women because they kept accusing the other person or the other gender essentially of not being good team members. And what this study somehow found is that to men, and it had a lot more to do with Boy Scouts versus Girl Scouts, actually, that just how these principles have kind of stayed within our, you know, it's not a nature thing, it's a nurture thing, is that
Right.
boys feel, to what Derek is saying, that, you know, if Derek is presenting and like, let's just say Derek has spinach in his teeth, he probably wouldn't want me to say this. He'd probably be like, what the hell's wrong with her? He'd probably want me to go to the private chat or text him, you know, on my phone. However, now of course on a podcast, I say that jokingly, no one would want to hear it, but women might be like, hey girl, like take care of yourself kind of thing. Maybe that wasn't the best example, I'll admit that. But what they found was that women essentially have found that if we're all inside of a room, like in a corporate building, and we're, you know, presenting to each other, you know, preparing to maybe go present to a client or a boss, and we're all, let's say, relatively equal to each other, is my point. We might just say, hey, you know, slide 5, there was a quick spelling mistake, but be like, I got you. If a woman does that to a guy, he'll be like, why are you embarrassing me in front of all of my peers?
Yeah.
So there are definitely some societal norms that we may not be as aware of because they're quite subconscious, that exist, you know, within each gender in our culture. And I think that those are really important to understand when you hear about all this, like, you know, unbiased training and gender training. And I'll be honest, I used to think that gender training was ridiculous. Whatever a man could do, I could do better. And that's still true, but there are things true in society. There are things true in society about why it is more difficult to be a woman. And it does kind of go back to, like I said, if I say veteran, a lot of people will think of a man. If I say doctor, a lot of people will still think of a man. But if I say secretary, you'll probably think of a woman.
Say teacher, same way.
I think it's they just don't notice it among because it's so normal.
Well, yes and no. They say that like if that now they're trying to be more conscious. So like if you Google scientist, some of the pictures, or even cybersecurity, like if you go look up a cybersecurity analyst, the picture there should be more women, you know. But it really goes back to like how now our AI algorithms more than 70% of the AI test data is from men or male voices. That's why some of the voice to speak or voice to text, like the speaking, like the car command or other devices, they don't always pick up women's voices because they're so much more trained on male voices that are deeper that they don't even understand how to pick up some of women's radio.
But here's the problem I see, and you know, and then I gotta say this is the last point. We're at 8:17, and then I'll let you all get your final opinions and voices heard on how to bring others into the industry. But unfortunately, we don't have anything centrist. Everything is either far right or far left when you think of the political spectrum, right? So when you're looking at AI, Google went as far as everything is going to be completely minority, right? So their AI was like, oh, everybody got to be black and female and as far to the left as possible. Then you have other AIs that are like, oh, I got to be as far to the right as possible. Nobody has this mix. Everything's far left or far right when you think of the political spectrum. And I think that is where the problem lies, is that nobody is like, no, everybody belongs. Everybody belongs. Regardless of what you're thinking, everybody belongs. Man, women, color, race, gender, it doesn't fucking matter. Everybody belongs. And I think that's the problem we're facing, is you either have the far left, which is like, oh no, it has to be all minority, or the far right, who is like, oh no, it got to be all straight white men. Nobody is in the center of, no, it's everybody. Everybody belongs here. And that is the problem we're seeing in AI. It's the problem we're seeing in everything. It's far one way or the other. And so when you're looking at our industry, when you're looking at the things we do, we have to find this center point of everybody belongs here. And yes, you've got the old heads and racist people on both sides and fucked up people on both sides. They're like, oh no, it's gonna be one extreme or the other. It's not one extreme or the other. You can find your happy medium. Everybody belongs here. I love everybody here. You all belong here. Personally, I will stand 10 tones down for any veteran. Me, I don't look at anything else other than veteran status. If you're a veteran, I got your 6. 7 days out of the week, I got your 6.
So I do just want to clarify that, like, the people that are standing in the way of other people or the people that are actively bringing harm, like, they don't belong.
Well, hold up. I got wood chippers for certain people out there, and we will discuss that off air if you want to stay behind. I do have wood chippers and pegs and things that can handle those people.
But to echo off of that, Derek, I would say that, yeah, I think it's human nature. Conforming is a way of survival, or it always has been. Within our career field, I feel that a lot of people believe like, oh, you have to do exactly what I did. Or, I can't tell you how many people kept telling me that I had to be more technical. I had to be more technical because I understood too much of the business. The funny thing is, I think I'm actually somewhat technical, but it's not that I'm not technical enough. It's just that I actually know so much more. Like, it's just not that I'm limited. And I think at the time when I was younger in my career, maybe a little bit more fresher out of my after the military experience, I really wanted to understand the big picture. I'm a very big picture person. I can understand the technical weeds, but I also can understand the big picture. And I just think that other people decided to give me their unsolicited opinion that I was focusing in the wrong area. And I remember when I finally started being like, I didn't ask them. Like, I did not ask this person for career advice. I did not ask them for feedback. And I just remember getting to a point where I was like, no, I didn't ask you. I do ask for feedback. I do have mentors. Not everybody who wants to have a say has that privilege or luxury.
And it's not, and again, you're going to have this problem where everybody from every gender, from every race, from every creed is going to be like, oh, I have something to say. No.
Well, there is something to be said about
I did not ask you. I put out a statement. I did not ask you for your opinion.
There's a fine line where I think we're all entitled to our opinions and our preferences, and we don't have to agree with each other. I think it's more about just being comfortable with having agreeing to disagree. And then the other thing I was starting to say was there's probably, we need new thought. We need creativity. We need outside the box. So, there's that. And then the last thing to say is, but we also need competition. Of course, I want to say that my way is better than everyone else's. I'm competitive and I want to be good at what I'm good at. I also realistically I know whose opinions I respect to be like, okay, they probably know more than me, or at least what areas, I'm not saying it's easy. It's very complicated, but it starts with being comfortable with yourself. And that's at least what I have found. I have had to become comfortable with myself before I figure out anybody else.
So on that note, I want to do something. I'm going to go off air. Santina, Gabby, Larci, and Ryan, you are all going to give your advice to women or anybody breaking into cybersecurity. Y'all have the floor. Take as long as you need. Go around the room. Give advice to those trying to break into the industry. Start with you, Santina.
Well, I kind of wish I went last because I'm that person that is still breaking in and trying to find their groove. But what I tell you is find your network. So there's WOSEC and there's Larci's group online. There's Women in Cybersecurity online. They've been tremendous help. We get together, we study. Everybody's getting all different types of certification, but we're a tribe together. Find those courses that you want to take boot camps, take courses on LinkedIn, build your LinkedIn profile and connect with others that are in cybersecurity. There's resources out there. I found discounts on CompTIA and it was on LinkedIn. And it was like a buy one, get one class free. And so I did that with one of my mentees. And so we took a boot camp together. So find those courses, friends, networks, women organization, and then have your confidence in line. Be confident and know that you can do the work. Don't The more that you hear the opposition, the more that you play in the game, so that you know that you have to win. So continue seeking the goal and doing what you feel that you need to do. If it's easy, then that means that something isn't right. But if it's hard and you find that you have to study for long nights, like I'm learning, then go ahead and study those long nights, because it's going to pay off. I never thought I would be on a podcast. I'm still amazed that I'm talking to so many of these beautiful people in Derek. But anyways, but I am so thankful, you know, so this can happen for you. So continue. And that's another thing. Start your own podcast. Start your own blog. Start writing about it. Start talking about cybersecurity with others. Talk on engage the hard stuff, but also talk up the stuff that you know. So
Santina wanted to go last, and she like mentioned everything.
No,
Like,
oh yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm piggybacking off of this. The biggest thing to me is like getting in here is finding your group, your people, the people, so you can learn from them. And yes, and if you can't find one, make your own. It's okay. There's a bunch, so many in DFW. I wish there were more across the country, because I'm hearing a lot of places don't have the support like we do in the Dallas-Fort Worth areas.
I was moved there for that.
And it is because this community is really, we're trying to pull each other up. We're trying to help each other out. We're learning from each other. We're collaborating. We're helping each other find jobs. We're branching out. And I was a little selfish, but I couldn't find a women's group that fit what I was looking for. And I'll be quite frank, what I was looking for was more women friends in cybersecurity. And I just wasn't finding it. So I looked on Meetup. I looked on our, DFW has a whole list on Twitter that you can go and find with all of like Dallas Hackers Association, all that stuff. It's out there. Veterans, go find more veterans too, because you know that we're going to help you no matter what. And it's just that bond that we all have because of how we learn to be a team. And so it still lives, and we see it immediately as soon as we, shake hands. But yeah, I mean, pave your own path. If you can't find the one that fits for you, there's probably another. But that's my spiel on go find your tribe, your people to support you. And, we're in this together.
That's right.
Cool. Okay, so I'll go next. So the main advice, and this I stick to like you wouldn't believe, because okay, so I have a mentor. He's genius. He is amazing. He's got a good life. He's got a good position. He's good financially. And the one thing that always got to, I can't remember if it was him specifically he told me, but he had mentioned it before, but be wise about who you take advice from. So it's like, be careful who you take advice from, for real. If they are not living the life that you want, why are you taking advice from them? Like, people will give you unsolicited information. And, oh, if you do this, well, let me see your life. Are you doing it? No. It's like, oh, I know I don't practice what I preach, or like, that one phrase. It's like, I do as I say, not as I do. Like, do not listen to people like that. Mm-hmm. Do not. If you are going to find a mentor, they need to be living the life that you want. How did you get that? How do you have that? What do I need to learn? Where do I get that certification? How do I get this? Like, tell me where I can get successful like you, because that's the life that I want. And that's all I got for that.
So I think I'm playing off everyone, but I wrote mine down. Yes. I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. Like, I'm not a huge social media person, or I try, not to be. But I do have to say LinkedIn is like, it's like your baseball card, or your, in a lot of ways, your resume. And, I've taken some chances, especially in the pandemic, reaching out to Gabby's point. I actually had reached out to a mentor at the time, not my mentor. I basically asked them, I said, I've been watching what you've been writing and saying and doing. I think you have my dream job. Will you mentor me? And again, because of the pandemic, there was more it allowed for more, meeting people. I didn't work with him. I'm not sure our paths ever had crossed. And then before I knew it, him and I had a virtual lunch, and now I feel like if I need advice, I can call him. It's been amazing. We actually got to meet at RSA, I think a few months after that. So that was really cool. So LinkedIn is awesome. Yes, have a mentor. I'm a big fan of have more than one mentor. To Gabby's point, have someone who has your dream job. Have someone that is like you, but maybe is like 5 years ahead of where you are. Have someone that has, like, especially in cyber, like, I wouldn't say nothing in common, but understands the things that you just don't, like the things you need to learn, the things that you're not the strongest in, the person you can ask like the tough questions. But most importantly, also make sure your mentors have your back. Like, it's really easy to say, wow, my mentor is like this CISO or this person. But are they actually making the time for you, and are they actually giving you what you need in a way that is digestible and going to help you in your career? Are they people that might pick up the phone and help you if you needed a job or wanted a better job, where they could try to refer you? But on that note, also as a mentee, it's not all on your mentor. Like, you need to do the work. You need to do the work. You need to reach out, and as hard as it might be when you need help, or you're a little confused, or maybe you messed up and you got to figure out how to clean up your mess, because we're not perfect. We all will make mistakes. And if you're not making mistakes, you're probably not doing anything new. So you're going to need to learn how to take accountability, and in a professional and respectful way if you haven't already. I mean, it's going to happen if you're starting out. But the biggest thing I'd say is take chances. Cybersecurity is all about calculated risks. So don't be impulsive and don't be wild, but take chances. I think Santina said it was her first time on a podcast. The first time someone asked me on a podcast, I was like, they have the right person, I think. And so I just said, what did you have in mind? And I mean, it's still on my LinkedIn. It's there if you want to see it. And in a few ways, it's like, because I've learned how to be a better public speaker. It's not bad. I'm hard on myself. And actually, a mentor of mine told me, you have to go listen to it. It's the only way you'll get better is when you listen to yourself, as hard as that might be, and then be like, this is how I would have said this better. Or, oh, I wish I would have said less or so. And then the next time I got asked to be on a podcast, I was like, oh gosh, again, me? And now I'll be honest, I don't know how many podcast things I've been on. I know this is the third time I've been on Derek's, and I'm excited that I get to share that now with Santina, Gabby, and Larci, and some other people who may or may not have been on last week, and a few others that have been on his show before. It's a great opportunity. And I can tell you from experience, I've had people tell me that they've hired me because they've seen my recorded podcast on my LinkedIn. And so, sure, my resume might say I'm a good public speaker, but now I have like a lot of proof.
Right.
You know what you're going to get, right? So make sure if you take the chance to be on a podcast, or another chance I took is Dark Reading will publish you if it gets past their peer review. They've denied one of my articles, but they published one. So, and to be fair, they said they denied it because it was too close to what their paid editors were writing. I was like, mine's done. Just publish mine. It's fine. I'll try again. Take those chances. Sometimes I remember coming out of the Air Force, showing up at networking events, and I remember thinking my first thing is like, what do I wear? That sounds stupid, but we're women. And the truth is I wanted them to take me seriously. So I asked my mentors, like, what do I wear? I'm not showing up in my uniform. I mean, I thought I had fashion, but and style, but I needed to make sure that I wasn't going to show up like a hot mess. So, I took the risks. I asked the questions. I had the right people in my life, and I put all this on my LinkedIn. So like, if you don't understand the feature section in your LinkedIn, like, you need to figure that out, because that is an important place. So yeah, that would be my advice to someone breaking out into cyber. But of course, I'm biased. If you want to get into cyber, you should join the military.
So I will, before we close out, I will touch on one thing. I believe it was Larci that said it, if I'm not mistaken. And she talked about your path. You see, here's the thing that people don't understand. When you find a mentor, when you find whatever, they can tell you whatever they want, but your path is your own. I have talked a lot. I have other podcasts out there. I've done a lot of other things. Ultimately, it comes down to the choices you make, the things that you do. Your path is your own. I cannot tell you how to get into this industry. I can give you advice. I can guide you. But your path is your own. You have to chop down the trees. You have to cut through the bramble. You have to break through the glass ceiling. You have to do all these things. I can only give you a leg up. I can only give you that axe. I can only give you that hatchet. I can only do these things, but it is on you.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, everything we do in our lives, everything we do as a society, everything we do as a person is on you. I can only give you advice and I can only guide you. That path is your own to go to walk. I'll give you whatever advice and whatever help I can give you, but that path is your own. Do not ever attempt to walk somebody else's, because you're going to hit different roadblocks. You're going to hit different obstacles, and you're going to end up in a situation that they cannot guide you through because they've not faced it. I have not faced the roadblocks, the obstacles, the adversity that Santina, that Gabby, that Ryan, that Larci have faced. I've not faced these things. I can't guide you through it. I can only tell you. And this is the one and only time I will ever promote a product that is not my own. One day at a time. Till Valhalla. You see, it's an organization that does not pay me. I am not sponsored by them. But everything we do is one day at a time. Everything as a society, as a people, is one day at a time. And you have to do everything in that manner. You can keep going. You can keep pushing forward. And I will guide you, Ryan, Gabby, Santina, Larci. We will all guide you the best we can. But it is on you as an individual to keep pushing forward. Networking, everything else, that's your cornerstone. That's your key. That is how you get through and succeed in society. Other than that, look, I love you all. You're all my warriors. You're all my family. You know that. You all belong here. And if you don't think so, I'm sorry. I don't know what you have been watching, but you should all know by now you're all one of mine, and I will go to bat for you 10 toes down any day of the week. All you got to do is reach out. Take care, and I have a banging episode for next week, but it's not going to top this week. I don't know how I top this week, but I'll figure it out. We'll find a way. We'll find a way. It'll happen. We're going to top every week.
This episode is what happens when you let women rule the world. That's how
That's right.
I like it.
We're gonna have a conversation about that. But Ryan, I love you. Lucky, I love you. You all are amazing. Take care. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you next week with another amazing episode of Security Happy Hour.